Hi students, under the chapter 6 evolution, in this video we are going to learn about biological evolution and evidences for biological evolution. So first we are going to see about formation of protobiont. So already we learned in the last video that according to the theory of chemical evolution, the organic molecules originated from inorganic chemical substances. Those organic molecules are produced abiotically. Such organic molecules are called as abiotically produced molecule. So they has the capability of assembled themselves. They have the capacity to assemble themselves spontaneously into droplets. It get assembled as a droplet. So while it forms as a droplet, it encloses a watery solution inside it. And this watery solution contains many number of chemical substances. So this droplet maintain a chemical environment which is differ from that of the surrounding environment. So this is the usually we learned that the life originate in the ocean. So around this also the water only, around this droplet water only present. So when compared to this surrounding environment, the watery substance present in this droplet contain many number of chemical substances. So it maintain a chemical environment which is differ from that of the surrounding environment. And scientists call these droplets as protobionts. And in the solution that is present in the droplet contain liposomes. They are nothing but lipids. So these lipids assemble themselves into lipid bilayer. The proteins present inside the liposome, they got the property of enzymes. You know what are the functions of the enzyme? So mainly it involved in metabolic activity. So because of this protein, this droplet has the ability to multiply into many number of molecules. Okay. So usually the droplet nothing but the coservates. So you know that what do you mean by coservate? Coservates are nothing but the first pre-cell. So this coservate with nucleoprotein. So what do you mean by nucleoprotein? Protein plus nucleic acid. They are called as nucleoprotein. So this coservate contained nucleoprotein and nutrients. It possesses nutrients with limiting surface membrane. Thus it had that characters of a virus or free living genes. So you know that structure of virus. So virus possesses outer limiting membrane, that is protein coat. Inside it possesses the nucleus. So like that this coservate with nucleoprotein and nutrients, and it possesses a limiting surface membrane, had the characters of virus or free living gene, that is also called as free living genes. And number of such free living genes united and they form protoviruses. Thus they form protoviruses. These protoviruses are similar to that of the present day viruses, and eventually these protoviruses get evolved into two major cell types. So from these protoviruses, two major cell types appeared. The one form of the earliest cell contained clumps of nucleoproteins. This nucleoprotein get embedded in the cell substances. That is the water substance is enclosed by the droplet. Okay. So that is called a cell substance. So it gets embedded in the cell substance. And this is considered as similar to that of the Monera. So Monera means it includes bacteria. Okay, bacteria are prokaryotes. So these are similar to that of the prokaryotic cell. So they are considered as ancestors of modern bacteria and blue-green algae. And other form of the earliest cell that contain nucleoprotein clumps. So this nucleoprotein clumps condensed into a central mass, and that central mass is surrounded by a thin cell membrane. So this nucleoprotein gets separated from the cell substances. So thus it is referred as protista. So protistas are unicellular eukaryotic cell. So it is resembled with like that of the eukaryotic cell. So thus the prokaryotes and eukaryotes evolved. So the prokaryotic-like and eukaryotic-like pre-cells evolved. So when the natural sources of food, so it utilizes the natural sources of food found in the ocean. When these natural sources of food started to decline in the ocean, then this ancestral form of Monera, that is prokaryotes, and the protista, that is eukaryotes, they started to evolve different methods for food procurement. So in order to get the food, they started to evolve into different forms. So like that of parasitism, saprophytism, so some as predator and some as animalism, that is like that of animals, and some evolved as chemosynthesis, and some are as photosynthetic cell. Okay, so once the photosynthetic cell started to originate and it increased in its number, automatically the level of free oxygen in the sea and the atmosphere started to increase. So you know that the atmosphere of the primitive earth contains methane and ammonia, isn't it? So once the free oxygen level started to increase, this free oxygen combined with methane and ammonia, and it produced carbon dioxide and free nitrogen in the atmosphere. And also because of the evolution of the photosynthetic living organism, so that leads into the evolution of aerobic respiration. Next we are going to see about experimental approach to the origin of life. Okay, so in order to prove this method of biological evolution, Urey and Miller, 1953, they paved the way for understanding the possible synthesis of organic compounds that led the appearance of living organisms. So by doing some experiment, they explained how the organic compound synthesized from the existing inorganic substances in the environment of primitive earth. We explained that they construct an apparatus. So it consists of flask with boiling water, and it is connected with a large chamber. This large chamber contains a mixture of gases that is present in the primitive earth. So they are methane, ammonia and hydrogen. Okay, so this boiling water, from the boiling water, the water vapor reaches the large chamber. This large chamber can get connected with the electrode, tungsten electrode. So when the electricity passed through this tungsten electrode, it discharged the spark, so which is similar to that of the lightning. Because of this physical force and water vapor, the gases react with each other. After that, the water vapor passes through this tube and reaches this U-tube. When it reaches this and it gets condensed and it forms a solution in the U-tube. Thus they repeated this experiment for a week. Then they analyzed the collected water in the U-tube. So there they found number of organic substances. So mainly the amino acids like glycine, alanine, beta-alanine and aspartic acids. Thus from this experiment they explained that there was possibility of abiogenesis of large amount of varieties of organic compounds in nature. And also they said that in this the only carbon source was methane. Okay, so thus they explain how through abiogenesis organic substances originated on the primitive earth. So next we are going to see about evidences for biological evolution. So here we are going to learn about paleontological evidences. So what do you mean by paleontology? It is a study of prehistoric life through fossils. Okay, what do you mean by fossils? Fossils are nothing but true witnesses of evolution. Okay, then how this fossil form? The formation of fossil is called as fossilization. So actually it is a process by which plant and animal remains, they get preserved in the sedimentary rocks. While you are learning about geological time scale, so I said you have to learn from bottom to the top. That means the dead plants and animals which are found in the ancient earth, they get preserved in the different layers of the earth as a sediment between the sedimentary rocks. Okay, so fossilization is the process by which plants and animal remains preserved in the sedimentary rocks. So it is preserved in different layers of the earth. Okay, so the fossilization falls under three categories. So first one is actual remains. What do you mean by actual remains? So this is the most common method of fossilization. So during this fossilization, the original hard parts of the body of organisms like bones, teeth, shells, these are preserved as such in definite layer of the earth. So that is called as actual remains. So these are the examples for actual remains. So these are the remains of dinosaurs. So this is the entire woolly mammoth get preserved over 22,000 years ago in the frozen Siberian coastal area. So next we are going to see about petrifaction. So what do you mean by petrifaction means? So in this method, so when the animals die and get buried under the earth, the original portion of the body get disintegrate, and this original substance of that dead organism is replaced by minerals. So how means this? Because the original substance get lost through disintegration, so that is replaced by the minerals. So what are the minerals replace this original substance? Are iron, pyrites, silica, calcium carbonate, bicarbonate of calcium, and magnesium. So these are the substance that replaces the original substances of the dead organisms. So that process is called as petrifaction. So this is one of the example. Actually this is the fossil wood. So this wood do not possess its original substance. Instead of that, it possesses iron, calcium carbonate, bicarbonate of calcium, and magnesium, pyrites, etc. So next we are going to see about natural molds and cast. So in this type of fossilization, after disintegration of the body of animal, okay, the body of animal might leave indelible. So what do you mean by indelible means? So making marks that cannot be removed. So the body of the organism makes a mark on soft wood. That means it makes impression on the soft wood which cannot be removed. So that means permanent impression. It made a permanent impression on the soft wood. Later it become hardened into stones. So such impressions are called as molds. The example for molds are, so these are the example for molds. So it made a impression on the soft mud. So later it become hardened into stones. So you can see many impressions. So next we are going to see about cast. What do you mean by cast? So the cavities of the molds may filled by hard minerals and get fossilized. That is called as casts. So this is the example for cast. And also the hardened fecal matter also is an example for cast. It is called as coprolites. The hardened fecal matter of the organism, that is animals, are called as coprolites. Okay, next we are going to see about evidence from comparative anatomy. So here we are going to see about by comparing the structure of the organisms. So there may be similarities in the structure between groups of organisms. So similarities in the structure between groups of organisms. So that are accepted as indicator of relationship among the organisms. So these relationship can be studied under 5 categories: homologous organs, analogous organs, vestigial organs, connecting links, and atavistic organs. So first we are going to see about homologous organs. So from the name itself we can understand homologous means same, similar. So the structure of the organisms are similar in origin. So from the origin is similar to each other, but they perform different function. Okay, the structure are similar in origin but they perform different function, that is called as homologous structures, and it leads to divergent evolution. So take for example four limbs of animals. Okay, so this is the forelimb of penguin, alligator, bat, human, cat, whale, bat. Okay, so here the structural origin is same. All possess same type of bones in their forelimbs. But what about their function? Penguin, it is used for swimming. It uses the forelimbs for swimming. Alligator for crawling. Bat for flying. Human for doing many number of works. Cat for running and jumping. Bat for flying. Whale for swimming. Is it? So they are doing different function according to the nature of the environment. So thus it leads to divergent evolution. So there may be deviation based on the different function, but the structure is same. So that is called as homologous structure. So in the case of plant, bougainvillea and cucurbita. Here in bougainvillea, the axillary bud that develop into thorns. Here it develop into tendrils, but the function is different. So the origin, the structural origin is same region, but their function is different. That is called as homologous structure. So next is analogous structure. Here opposite to that of the homologous structure. Here the structural patterns are different structural patterns, but their function is similar. That is called as analogous structure. This analogous structures leads to convergent evolution. So for example, wings of bird and wings of butterfly. So structurally they are differ from each other, but they functionally they are same. So both are used for flight. So from the plant, potatoes and sweet potatoes. So in the case of potatoes, potatoes are underground stem. Sweet potatoes are underground root. Structurally they are different. Functionally, so their main function is storing the food materials. So their function is similar. So that leads to convergent evolution. So next is vestigial organs. So what do you mean by vestigial organs? Means these are the structure that are of no use to the possessors and are not necessary for their existence. So for their life activity, these structures are not needed, but they present in their body. That is called as vestigial organs. So some of the vestigial organs present in the human body are nictitating membrane, then muscles of the ear, then pointed canine teeth and wisdom teeth, then vermiform appendix, then hair on the body, mammae on male, then segmental muscles on abdomen, caudal vertebrae. So these are all the vestigial organ of man. I'll explain with a small example. Vermiform appendix. Actually vermiform appendix, a well developed structure in the case of herbivorous animal. They are called as cecum. In the case of herbivorous animals like rabbit, horse, cattle, goat, etc. Okay, so the main function of the cecum is they helps in digestion of cellulose, because the diet of herbivores contain large amount of cellulose. So in order to digest the cellulose, cecum is well developed in these herbivorous organisms. But in the case of human being, in our food the cellulose content is very less, so automatically there is no function for the cecum, so it get much reduced and it occur in the form of small worm-like structure. So hence it is called as vermiform appendix. So it is called as vestigial organ. So next is connecting link. What do you mean by connecting links? Means here a certain organism possess characteristic features of two different groups of organisms. So such organisms are called as connecting links. Here examples are Archaeopteryx. This is Archaeopteryx and this is Peripatus. So you see Archaeopteryx. So like birds, it possesses feathers. But what about the tail? So like reptiles, the tails are very long. Like birds, it possesses beak. But like reptiles, inside the beak it possesses teeth. So that is a reptilian character. And also in the wings, like reptiles, they possess claws. So these are all the So these Archaeopteryx possess both reptilian character as well as avian character. This Archaeopteryx is called as connecting link of reptiles and aves. Next, Peripatus. Peripatus is a connecting link between annelids and arthropods. Next is atavistic organs. What do you mean by atavistic organ? Means sudden appearance of vestigial organs in highly evolved organism. Okay, sudden appearance of vestigial organs in highly evolved organism, that is called as atavistic. So example, appearance of tail in the human baby. So next we are going to see about embryological evidence. So what do you mean by embryology? Embryology is nothing but the study of development of individual from egg to adult stage. So what is the use of this embryonic evidence? So the detailed study of embryonic development, okay, of different forms of animals that make us to think that there is a resemblance during development. So among the embryo of different groups of organisms, at the time of development, there may be some resemblance among these different groups of organisms. Thus, embryological idea helps us to get idea about the evolution of organisms. So see this picture, you can see. So these are the different types of embryo. The embryo of fish, reptiles, birds, human. So at the time of development of embryo, there will be development of pharyngeal gill slit. Okay. So this shows that there is some relationship among these organisms. That means these organisms originated from some common ancestor. So because of this, the scientists in 19th century, they concluded that higher animals during embryonic development passes through the stages of lower organisms. So from this, what they concluded means at the time of embryonic development of higher animals, so these embryos undergo the stages of lower organisms, the characteristic feature of lower organisms. So in order to explain this idea, Ernst von Haeckel, he propounded a law that is called as biogenetic law or theory of recapitulation. So according to him, he said means the life history of an individual, that is called as ontogeny. Ontogeny means the life history of the individual organism briefly repeats or recapitulates the evolutionary history of the ancestor, that is phylogeny. So in simple word, we can say that ontogeny recapitulates the phylogeny. That means the embryonic development of the higher organism is repeating the characteristic feature of the ancestor. So that is the meaning of this theory. But so it is not universe. That means all the other scientists didn't accept this. They didn't support this view. Because so what they said means the animal do not recapitulate the adult stage of any ancestor. The embryo only recapitulate the embryonic history and not the adult history of the ancestor. Here there is an embryo of different animals. So they shows the similar in their structure. Their structure is similar. As their structure is similar, it shows that they all evolved from the common ancestor. Okay. Next we are going to see about molecular evidences. So what are the main biomolecules? Means the nucleic acid, then protein, carbohydrate, lipids, is it? So in the case of molecular evidence, the molecular evolution is the process of change in the sequence composition of molecules such as DNA, RNA and protein across the generation. So during molecular evolution, what is happening means the molecules such as the biomolecules like DNA, RNA, protein, okay, in that the changes occur in their composition and the sequence across the generation after generation. Thus it leads to the formation of new organism or new species. And how it is occurring means, so actually the molecules like proteins and other molecules, okay, so mainly DNA, RNA and protein, mainly they only control the life processes. Okay, DNA and RNA are controlling the life processes through proteins. So these molecules are conserved among the species. Any slight changes occur in this conserved molecule, then that is called as molecular clocks. Okay, so that lead to the origin of new species. So because of this, the molecules can be used to study evolution. Okay, so what type of molecules are used to study evolution means cytochrome C. So it is found in respiratory pathway, and rRNA that involved in protein synthesis. With the help of these molecules, we can study about the evolution of organisms. So okay students, so that's all about the biological evolution and the evidences from the biological evolution. Okay students, I hope you would have understood about the biological evolution and the evidences from the biological evolution. So next video we can see about the theories of biological evolution. Thank you.